Hey 7th graders, so if you are looking at this video, you are doing this activity at home today. Kind of as a prerequisite though, if you guys did not watch the lecture video, it was about 30 minutes long. You guys were assigned this the week before Christmas. If you guys did not watch that, I linked it to today's Teams post again. It's also still linked to last week's, or that last week before Christmas's Teams post. It's really important that you guys go watch this because this worksheet really won't make a whole lot of sense to you guys if you don't go do that. Okay, like I said, it's about 30 minutes long. Go back, check that video out, and then come back in. I'm going to kind of go over this stuff briefly, but I'm not going to go into it in huge detail. And I'm certainly not going to give you guys a ton of examples, as this worksheet isn't very big and it should not take you guys very long outside of watching this video. All right, so basically what we're covering on this is the concept of phenotypes and genotypes. So these were two really big vocab words that we're going to be using a lot when we move forward talking about genetics and how traits are passed down from parents to offsprings. So just a really quick review, you guys should have added 3 sections to your traits and reproduction section of your notebook. You should have added genetics, phenotypes, and genotypes. So I'm just going to go ahead and start off with the genotype section of our worksheet. So your guys' notes should have looked like this, and then you guys should have watched the video and filled in this table as we went along. Okay, with that being said, a genotype is the combination of alleles or genes. So if I look at a human being or some other living organism that has DNA, I can't look at them and see their genotype, okay? Because I can't laser in and see what their genes look like. Okay, these are basically the alleles or the gene versions that our parents pass down to us. All right, so I gave you guys a lot of examples throughout this. As far as genotypes go, you can have 3 different genotypes. You guys can be homozygous dominant, where you have 2 copies of the dominant gene or the dominant allele. You can be homozygous recessive, where you have 2 of the same copies of the recessive allele. So mom passes down the recessive, dad passes down the recessive. Or you can be heterozygous. Hetero means mix. And the mix would mean that you guys have a dominant from one parent and a recessive for another. So those are some vocab to kind of get you through this worksheet. Okay, so what you guys have is this table right here where you guys have several traits. Okay, so about 5 traits: earlobe trait, hair type, dimples, thumb, and eyelashes. And then you guys have 2 different variations. You guys have a dominant variation and a recessive variation. Remember, the dominant trait, if that trait is present, it will show up over any recessive trait. So if one parent, even one parent, passes down the allele for a dominant trait, that's the trait that we're going to see in the individual. Okay, it doesn't matter what the other parent passes down, whether they pass down a dominant or a recessive. All right, so as always, we use capital letters to represent the dominant alleles, and you guys can see that we're going to use a E for earlobes, a C for hair type, a D for dimples, a T for thumb, and an L for eyelashes. Okay, the recessive trait, on the other hand, is the trait that's only going to show up if both parents pass it down. So that's the only allele present. Mom passes down a recessive, dad passes down the recessive, and then that's the trait you guys will see in that offspring. Okay, so again, we're going to use the same letters, but we're just going to use lowercase versions because this is the recessive, and typically we use lowercase to show the recessive and uppercase for the dominant. All right, so this first part says write out the genotypes or the genotype or genotype. So you're going to have a couple that have more than one answer. Okay, and I'll go over that here in a second. Your genotype should be 2 letters. Why? Because mom passes you down an allele or a letter, and dad passes you down an allele or a letter. Okay, so you should always have 2 letters. Okay, you'll use that key obviously in the table, and I'm going to do a couple for you guys. So first of all, the first one is heterozygous long eyelashes. If you guys forget or you guys need to review, go back to your notes on genotypes, look at heterozygous. Hetero again means a mix where you have 2 different alleles. So you'll always have one dominant allele and one recessive allele. So a capital and a lowercase letter. Okay. The individual will show the dominant phenotype, and we'll get to phenotype here in a second. So if we look at the letter we are using for eyelashes, okay, it looks like we are using a capital and lowercase L. So if you have the dominant trait, it's a capital L, and you have long eyelashes. And the recessive is short eyelashes. So this is heterozygous. It means a mix. So that means it gets one dominant, so a capital L from one parent, and then a recessive from the other parent, so a lowercase L. So your guys' answer would be big L, little l. Okay? Homozygous hitchhiker's thumb. We would see that, all right, thumb is up here. Hitchhiker's thumb is dominant. So if it is homozygous, homo means the same. Again, you guys can review your notes right here. Homozygous dominant means 2 dominant alleles, so 2 capital letters. You guys would say, all right, I'm using T's for thumb shape. So if it's homozygous and it's also dominant, because our dominant trait is hitchhiker's thumb versus straight thumb, we would be capital T, capital T. Okay, I want to do dimples for you guys, and then I'm going to move on and give you guys a quick hint. Okay, but dimples is one of the tricky ones that has 2 answers. Okay, so if we look up here, we have dimples is our dominant trait. Okay, so if an individual has dimples, we know it has at least 1 dominant allele. So at least 1 parent passed down that trait for dimples. So that offspring or that individual could either be capital D, okay, where both parents passed down the dominant trait. That would give us an offspring with dimples. Or it could be big D, little d. Okay, because 1 parent can pass down the dominant trait, 1 can still pass down the recessive trait, but that kid will have dimples because it has the dominant trait. So that's an example of one that has 2 answers. You guys have a hybrid means a mix, just to kind of go over that with you guys. Let's see here. You guys have one other here that has 2 answers. So after C, we did A, B, and C together. So D, E, F, G, and H, one of those have 2 answers, kind of like C did, where we had capital D, or capital D, little d. Okay, so go ahead, finish. Like I said, hybrid is not necessarily one of your vocab words, but heterozygous means the same thing. In fact, I'm just going to change it to heterozygous right now. Okay, on your second part, you guys will be looking at phenotype. So the way I like to remember phenotype is from the pH. So the phenotype always suggests to me that it's the physical appearance. So phenotype, physical. So that pH is the physical appearance. These are things that, for the most part, you guys can actually see. It might be brown eyes. It might be blue eyes. It might be green eyes. Those are all different phenotypes that we would see for a trait. It's kind of like the variations, but we're just describing the actual physical trait that we can see. Okay, you can either have a dominant or a recessive phenotype. So for instance, I have brown eyes. I have the dominant phenotype for the trait of eye color. Okay, if you have blue eyes, you actually have the recessive trait for that phenotype of eye color. Okay, you guys can see an example right here. Trait thumb shape. Dominant is hitchhiker's thumb. So again, you guys remember that's when you guys put your thumbs up and your thumb curves to the back. Okay, if you have straight thumb, try as you might, you can't really get the top part of your thumb here to bend backwards. Okay, so that's the recessive. You would need to get, again, that trait from both of your parents in order for you to guys have just a straight thumb. Okay, all right, so on part 2, you guys are given the genotype and you are asked to tell me the phenotype. Okay, so if we have a genotype of big E, little e, we have 1 dominant allele and 1 recessive allele. So we go up here and figure out which trait we're even talking about. So it looks like E's are earlobes. Okay, if we have a heterozygous genotype of big E, little e, that means we're going to have free earlobes because one parent, and that's all we need is 1 parent, pass down that dominant trait. So that child will have the same as that parent. So free earlobes. So here you guys would type in free earlobes. Okay. All right, little c, you guys have 2 recessive traits. That's the only time you guys see the recessive phenotype. So let's go figure out where C's are. So it looks like hair type is our C. And because we get 1 copy from mom and 1 copy from dad that are both recessive, that child will have straight hair. So you guys would type in straight hair. You want to type it so it shows up in the color. There we go. All right, and then one more example for you guys, capital D, capital D. If we look at this, we've got dimples as our trait because you have, again, 1 dominant trait for dimples from 1 parent and another dominant trait for dimples from the other parent. That child will most definitely have dimples. Okay, so we'll go ahead and say Dimples. Okay, so go ahead. You guys finish the rest of the worksheet. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you need help, let me know. But again, I can't help you guys if you did not watch that lecture video. Okay, go back and do that first. You guys go through a lot of examples in that lecture video. Okay, go through those examples, work with them as I go through them, and pause as you guys need to complete them. And then obviously watch this video if you guys haven't or are not watching it right now. And then if you guys have any questions, please let me know. But again, please watch that other video first. Otherwise, I just can't help you guys right now because I don't have 30 minutes to chat and go through all that information that you guys were supposed to do as an assignment. Okay? I will talk to you guys soon, and I hope you all are having a wonderful day.